4th, 2014. We are at the James A. Lovell Federal Health Center in North Chicago, Illinois, and we are interviewing Bob Sittler. Bob, you were born on 1/18/1933, and you were, for the record, in the U.S. Navy in 1951 to 1955. Would you like to tell us, for the record, what war you were in, active during the war? Korean War, okay. And for the record, would you like to share your history, your story?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I finished high school in June 1951, and a friend of mine and I, at that time, when we get out of high school, we're going to join the service. In July, I went to my buddy. I said, well, let's go down to Great Lakes, which is 10 minutes from my house, and join the Navy. Bob, I changed my mind. I said, well, Jim, I'm going to join the Navy. I went downtown Chicago, and the big old building, I'm 18 years old, walked up 33 stairs, big pillars, went in the big room there. There was a lady sitting at the desk on my left-hand side. I went up to her and I said, I'd like to join the Navy. Sonny, you're going to have to get a note from your mother. My hair stood up. I saw a man dressed up in this Navy uniform down the hallway, sitting at a desk. I went to him and I said, sir, I'd like to join the Navy. He says, how old are you? I said, I'm 18. Come right this way. The lady at the main desk, when I walked in, she came, you can't do that. You have to come back here. This Navy man told me, he's 18, I'm taking him. 3.5 hours later, I took a test, physical, everything. 3.5 hours later, I got a certificate. Report to Great Lakes Camp Berry in 2 weeks. As I'm walking out, this lady's at the desk there. I looked at her and I said to her, goodbye. I should have said something else, but I didn't want to. Came home, gave my mother my certificate, Camp Berry in 2 weeks. You can't do that, Bob. There's a war on. You can't go in the service. There's a war on. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to join the Navy. There's a draft on. The Army would get me in 2 years. I want to join the Navy, and I want the Navy. I don't want the Army. Showed it to my dad. My dad told me right to my face, he said, you're 18, you're out of high school, you're on your own, kid, do what you want. Camp Berry, 2 weeks or 8 weeks of boot camp. Great training. Great training. Really great. I was stationed in San Diego, California for gunnery school. Then I was stationed aboard the USS Los Angeles, a heavy cruiser. I was stationed on the 3-inch rapid-fire guns. We were getting ready to go over to Korea. So they sent me on 2 weeks leave to go home before we went over for approximately 15 months. I got off at Midway Airport. Now this is in November. California, their Navy uniforms are all white. All white. In Illinois, they're white in the summer, blue in the Navy. Blue in November. I get off the airplane at Midway, and I had my white uniform on, because in California, that's white. November, and here In Illinois, they're blue. And I see my mother and my sister at the gate ready to pick me up for my 2-week leave. The shore patrol came over to get me. Come with us. I went with them. You're out of uniform. You're supposed to have your blues on. I said, well, I'm from California. 2-hour delay. What a hassle. But I had my leave and everything else went fine. I went back to California. Our ship, the USS Los Angeles, took off for Pearl Harbor. We were there for 6 days. I saw the Arizona before they had the monument the way that's fixed up now. I saw Pearl Harbor, some of the disaster that had not been repaired because this is 1951. So I saw some of the results, and I still remember that. Then we stopped at Hong Kong, China. We stopped at Tokyo, Japan. Tokyo also, some of the areas there had not been repaired yet. And then our duty was the Korea, Wonsan Harbor. I was on the 3-inch rapid fire, it's an open gun mount. Our duty was, when we were notified by the land, to spray the area when the U.S. Marines and the U.S. Army infantry hit the beach. Our gun was the type that we would spray over them back and forth to protect the infantry and the Marines when they hit the beach. We did that for months and months. Wintertime was cold out there, summertime was warm. Now we had the big guns aboard our ship also, the 5-inch, 8-inch, but they fired way over the mountains. And our ship got hit twice by enemy fire. One time it was 17 men got hit aboard the ship, and I saw them from a distance. I can still see them in a way. And when they hit the deck, and I was not wounded in service. I was not. My ears are very bad from the guns, very bad. But as my wife says, your ears are bad, but you still have a good appetite. But no. So and then we got hit 2 weeks again, and we had one radar room 37. I could I'm 81 years old. I can still remember this. I don't want to, but we got a big hole in our deck. We only had one radar room at that time, those ships. Radar room 37. It got knocked out of commission. So without the radar room, we had to get another ship. The USS St. Paul took our place in 2 days. The ship I was on, we had 5 destroyers with us at all times and a submarine with us at all times. The submarine, we never knew where it was, but we had it with us. We were the flagship. We had the admiral, the captain, aboard our ship at all times. We had a helicopter aboard our ship. Our helicopter back in 51, 52, they weren't like they are now. They're small helicopters. Our helicopter was to pick up wounded on the beach, and which we did many times. 3 times. One time it didn't make it back. It went in the water. And but the men, they're all able to survive. The other time it came back to our ship, and got back to our ship, and it like ran out of gas, and it crashed aboard our fantail of our ship. And the other time it made a crash landing aboard a destroyer. And but as I say, best experience. Everybody should go in the service when they get out of high school. It's best experience. You know, young age, you learn how to handle money. You learn how to sew a button on one of your uniforms, and you just learn everything. And best thing I ever did. And I was discharged from the service on November 11th, Armistice Day. Back then, November 11th was Armistice Day. Now it's Veterans Day. President Eisenhower changed that in 1954, if I recall, which is right. And So it's Veterans Day for all veterans. For all veterans. And as I said, and I was discharged from the Navy, and great experience, and seeing some of the areas, the countries that, and our ship, the flagship, we went back and forth around Catalina Island and San Francisco, Alcatraz, when it was Alcatraz. We went around there for many times for training before we went over to Korea the first time. And that's when it was Alcatraz. Now it's a park, state park. And as I say it, and got out of service, and a year later I married my sweet wife, and we've been married for 58 years, and I have 2 sons and 2 great daughter-in-laws, and 4 great grandchildren, and 2 great grandsons. And I'm a license plate on my car. I have a Korean license plate on my car, which I'm entitled to, and letters are C, B, Carol, and Bob, and number 4. Number 4 is for my 4 grandchildren. And as I say it, and the city of Waukegan has a big monument, and they have stepping stones, and you can get your names in the stepping stones, and they're large stepping stones, and you can get your name in there. And I had my name put in there for the Korea War, and I also had my dad's name. My dad was in World War I Army. My dad was in World War II, the U.S. Navy. My dad was drafted in the Navy at the age of 43 years old. Second World War, you do that. The reason why my dad was drafted in the service when he was 43 years old was because my parents were divorced, and my dad was classified 1A. So he was drafted in the service at that age. And he spent 4 years at Great Lakes. And so as I say it, the stepping stone reads Robert Sittler, Korea War, Frank Sittler, World War I, Frank Sittler, World War II. And as I say it, and when I retired from the food business, I came down to the VA hospital. At that time they called it VA. Now it's the Federal Healthcare Center. And I came down here for medical treatment, and all my doctors are down here. I get great care, and also I've been volunteering here for 16 years. I started at the adult daycare. I push wheelchairs all around for appointments. If we on the wheelchair buses, we went to the Cubs Park, all the different museums in Chicago, Milwaukee, Rockford, and I helped on the buses pushing wheelchairs. I still I had to give that up. My leg and back problem gave out, so I'm in charge of bingo in building 133, 134, and then 3 years ago, Mr. Sullivan at the Federal Healthcare Center and Mr. Wayne Maychek of the American Legion in Chicago, they asked me if I'd take over this office for the American Legion in building 133. I really enjoy it, and helping patients. I have a sit-down job, and 3 days a week from 7 to 1, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as I said, I really enjoy helping the veterans, and as I say, I volunteer elsewhere with the American Legion, Post 281 Waukegan. When we have any benefit dinners or breakfasts, fundraisers with the American AMVETS, Post 35 of Waukegan. We take the patients out at different times for special dinners, like St. Patrick's is coming up March 18th. We take them out, a group of 40 inpatients that are able to go, and we have an AMVET bus, and as I say it, and I'm a delegate on the Mike Peck's, the Lake County Veterans Assistance Program. And helping the veterans, I involved with the coats for veterans in the wintertime. If veterans need coats, scarves, gloves, and I'm involved there. And as I say it, I really like to be active, and also with our church, the Redeemer Lutheran Church in Waukegan. For 13 years, we have approximately 35 veterans for our Thanksgiving luncheon, dinner, a complete dinner on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm one of them that drives down in my van and pick up the sailors, male and female ladies, and bring them to our church for a complete turkey dinner on Thanksgiving Day. And we have all types of games, TVs, bingo, just to play bingo, or they can have use of our phones to call their parents, and ping pong tables, pool tables, and these sailors from boot camp. Now these sailors from boot camp, they're in boot camp. It's the first time they've been out of boot camp for 7 weeks, and so they really feel, and our pastor is great. You'd never know he was our pastor of our church. He gets right in there and plays ping pong or pool with our sailors, and sits right down, eats with them, and he's just a barrel of fun, and our congregation really supports it. And when our sailors come eating dinner, a lot of times the sailors want to stay as a group. We split them up for a reason. And when we sit there, there's a husband and wife. Well, then we put a sailor in between, and so they can congregate and feel free. And instead of having all the sailors congregate in one corner, we, as I say, they really have a great time. And so, as I say, I keep active. My wife keeps very active at her church, and as I say, and spend a lot of time with our children, our grandchildren, and as I say, that's it. Yeah.
When you went to Barry, when you signed up, when you went to Barry,
North Chicago, Illinois, Camp Barry, yes.
Okay. How long were you there?
Boot camp was 8 weeks.
And then you went out to San Francisco.
Yes.
And how long were you there?
I was in gunnery school for 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And then you went and sailed to Korea.
Then after gunnery school, I was stationed aboard the USS Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there approximately for 6 months. They were repairing the ship. And it was a World War II ship, and they were repairing it. And I was there 6 months. And then they sent us home for 2 weeks leave before we went over to Korea.
Do you remember your trip over to Korea?
Aboard the ship, yes. The first stop was Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii, our first stop. And that's where I saw the Arizona before. And there was Hawaii didn't have all the hotels that they have now. They had just one big hotel. It was like a pink hotel. And then there was a building back there, the USO building. And it was a military building. It was a brick building. And if you watch Hawaii 5-0 on television, the old program, Magera, and that brick building is still there. I tell my wife, I remember that building from 1951, 1952. It's still there. Of course, Hawaii is all hotels now. But, yeah. And we were there for approximately 6 days the first time. Then from there, we stopped at Hong Kong, China for a few days. And then we stopped at a town by the name of Sasebo for a few days. Well, I guess we had to get all provisions, food and water and everything aboard the ship before we took off for Wonsan Harbor, which we were going to be there for some time, just back and forth. And
Now, did you get off the ship in Korea?
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, no. Korea, no, we did not get off the ship whatsoever. No. Got off the ship in Sasebo, Japan, Hong Kong, Japan, Hong Kong, China. Got off the ship.
Did you buy anything?
Oh, yes. I have some souvenirs at home and in Hong Kong, China. I have an ashtray with a cigarette lighter and a few other things like that, but they say it great experience. The only thing I don't really like to talk about is the VA sent me to a doctor here, but I quit going to the doctor because he kept talking about certain things. I don't like to talk about helicopters at all, but they sent me to some doctor, but I quit going to him. But because all he wanted to do is talk about the past, and I don't like to talk about the past, just the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Did you get to stay in touch with your family?
oh yes, yeah. One time, I wrote a letter to my ma, and over in Korea, our gun mounts. We were there, snow and that, and I was on an open gun mount, and we had clothes to keep us warm, and she used to send me care packages. Everyone got care packages back then, and one time I wrote to her, my lips were as a chapstick. Next time they sent me a chapstick, she claimed it was my penmanship, but so when I wrote chapstick, my next care package I got was 2 Chinese chopsticks. I opened my care package up. My buddies were saying, and I got two chopsticks. They were wood ones. What? And I still have them. My mom couldn't read my writing. What does Bob want 2 chopsticks for? So she sent me 2 chopsticks, and it was chapstick. And I kept those all the time I was in the service. When I got out of the service, in my duffel bag, I said, Mom, why do you ever send me these? Well, in one of your letters, you want chopsticks. I said, chapstick for my lips. And I still have those 2 chopsticks. Yeah.
Did you get cookies or anything like that?
Oh yeah, cookies and everything. Oh, back then all the sailors did, and their parents.
Did you share them?
Oh yes, yeah, we shared them, and as I say it, and when we were in the combat area, they would give us, aboard the ship, they'd give us little care packages too, the USO or different organizations, and believe it or not, they gave us cigarettes when we were in the combat area. Some people, you tell them that, and they'll say, they gave you cigarettes to service? Yeah, back then they did. They don't do that now. But back then they did. They gave us cigarettes.
Do you remember the brand?
No, I don't. There were little tiny packages, but you could get as many as you wanted. And of course, back then I did smoke, and because back then, so many people smoked, in school, and your parents or your grandparents, everyone smoked. It's not like it is now. But I quit smoking when I was 33 years old. I'm 81 now. I quit when I was 33. I had a little throat problem, and my doctor, it was a good thing I quit.
Well, you were young.
Yeah, it was a good thing I quit. And both my sons never smoked. My sons are 52 and 55, and they've never smoked. And my wife doesn't smoke, but as I say it, But so as I say it,
What was the best thing that you brought home?
The I took I had a camera. I bought a camera in Japan, and I have pictures at home. I took pictures, and I have a lot of pictures at home that for my wartime service. There's one picture right here I brought, and yeah, it's somebody took a picture of me standing next to my gun that I was on. That's the gun I was on, and that's me in the picture there.
And what type of gun is that?
That was a 3-inch rapid-fire aircraft gun. We had no aircraft in the Korea War, but we shot the land to protect their Marines and the Army infantry. And yeah. But as I say, that's the gun I was on there. Yeah.
What was your sleeping arrangements on your ship?
The sleeping arrangements, there were hammocks, and there was 4. The bottom one was about 6 inches from the ground, and then they went up to 5 feet. And back then, if you go to turn over, and I remember this distinctly, if you go to turn over, your shoulder would, and they would like say, when your buddy on top would get in, they would sort of like sag down. And if you're right below that, when you go to turn over, your shoulder would hit his body. And as I say, there must have been in the compartment. There must have been 40 of us in the compartment. And aboard our ship, there were 1,600 men. 1,600 men. And back then, the ships. The only ladies, females, were aboard the hospital ships. Back then, you were all men, and 1,600. It was the size of 2 football fields. The USS Los Angeles, and fabulous ship. It, as I say, and we had all the top brass and the captains and the admirals walking around, and which was no problem. And the food, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, Easter, you had a Thanksgiving dinner there. They had everything. They had the cranberries, they had dressing, they had everything. Now, the ship I was aboard, with the top brass, we had everything. Now, some of the smaller ships didn't have their big kitchens and didn't have all the frills that I had aboard my ship. I was very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. And then, of course, you had the Army infantry on Thanksgiving Day. Some of them, they might be eating there on land or on ground, eating out of, So I was very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. And
have you ever been able to go back on the ship?
Yes. And my wife and I went back there in 1969. They were going to decommission the ship. They were going to scrap it, take it apart. It was an old World War II ship. And we had heard about that. And we went back aboard the ship, and they said that they were going to scrap it. And there's a park in Long Beach, California, in San Pablo Beach, and they were going to take the steering wheel off and the anchor off, and they were going to name this park the USS Los Angeles Park. But I did go aboard the ship. Of course, the ship had changed. They had missiles on the back of it and different type guns, and but as I say, we did go back in 1969 and to see it, and I kept in contact with 7 men from our ship after all these years. And only one I'm in contact with now, and he's from Indiana. The other men, 2 of them, their wives have wrote me that they had passed away, and the other 2 men they just dropped out, no more Christmas cards or letters. But there's still one I'm in contact with, and he's from Indianapolis, and he wrote a letter, and he just lost his wife, but he's as they say, there's just two of us left, and yeah, and as I say, the Korea War veterans, we are in our 80s, and I'm looking very forward to going to Washington D.C. with the honor flight, and I've inquired about that, and I am going to put my name in on that, and my son, he wants to go with me and be one of my, because I had a problem walking, so I will need a wheelchair. And he wants to definitely be my assistant and push the wheelchair. And I don't take too much medication, so luckily there I'm okay. But as I say, he wants to. But there's a little drawback on that, whether he's going to be allowed to or not. But I'm going to fight for that. Why he can't? Why should I have a stranger at Midway Airport and a stranger with nothing wrong with strangers or volunteers? I like volunteers, but and then they'll be with me on the airplane, and then in Washington D.C. And I know a lot of World War II men says it's a fantastic thing to go to, and. But as I say, my son wants to go with me, and I'd like him to go with me. And as I say, I'm really looking forward to the Washington, D.C. And as I say, but as I say, first time I've ever been interviewed like this, and that's the story. I have a few pictures here and all the ribbons on. I brought my certificate here, which indicates the combat ribbon, the Korean War Service Medal with the 2 bronze stars, which I'm quite proud of, the National Defense Medal and the United States Medal, and the Korean War Service Medal, and Presidential Medal, and a few other ones, and then as this certificate said, the Korean War veterans are not forgotten, and as I say it, and certificate here of the Geneva Convention that I was part of, and my identification card that I needed in Japan when we got off the ship. I have a little certificate up there on this sheet that I will turn over if you want, and
okay.
But as I say it.
Well, I would like to take at this time and thank you for your interview, and I want to tell you that it was an honor to be able to interview you, and it was an honor to be the one that was able to interview you.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank you for the time that you gave our country and the time you served our country.
Well, thank you very much. And as I say, it's first time, and as I say, for education, so many, the best education I had during the service for the 4 years. And as I say, I made up my mind when I was senior in high school, when I got out, I was going to join the Navy, and I did, and my friend decided not to. And 3 years later, he made a mistake. I should have went with you, Bob. I'm being drafted in the Navy, or I'm being drafted in the Army now. He said, I'm 22 years old, and he said, I'm being drafted in the Army. I should have went in the Navy with you, Bob.
Do you still see your friend?
No, he passed away about 10 years ago. Yeah. And, but as I say it, and I'm just thankful I have fairly good health, my wife, and as I say it, and the Federal Healthcare Center here in North Chicago, all my doctors are here, and it's a fabulous hospital, and so many good volunteers here, and I have nothing to praise the hospital, in all departments, all departments, and I have no, And my primary care doctor here, when I came here, when I got out of the, when I retired, and it's a lady, and she's fabulous. Any health problems, she sends me to any specialist here or there, and it's a great service they have here. So many volunteers, and as I say, I used to volunteer in another building, and the building I volunteered in for several years was Building 131. I call it, a lot of those veterans over in that building, they're forgetful. Forgetful. That's a mental hospital. But I don't call it. But they're forgetful over where I used to volunteer. And I called bingo there, and they didn't know how to play bingo, but they'd sit there with their bingo cards and go through the motions. And I would either call a bingo or help with the bingo, and just entertainment rather than those men just sitting in their rooms doing nothing. You get them up and moving around, but in one incident, I was really shocked one time. We were given a lot of bananas to pass out in this one building, 131. And the lady said, "Bob, these bananas, you give it to the desk up there. You don't give them to the patients." And I said, "Okay." And I'll show you why. So she went with this one man. She handed him a banana. And he was shaking, and I mean, he was, he had a problem. And he took the banana with two hands, and he just shoves it in his mouth, starts chewing it, leave with the skin on and all. Then she took it away. "That's why, Bob, we give all the bananas to the nurses' station." So many of them do that. And I was really shocked. Then I found out after, when I played bingo with them, how they were. It's really, we don't know how lucky we are if we have good health and certain types of health problems. But now I help in a different way in my office.
Okay.